What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to the Black Honor Movement. I'm your host, Darby X Judah, and I'm so happy to be with you guys again today. Go ahead and hit that like button, that share button, and definitely that subscription button so more people can find out about our platform and about what we are trying to institute for our community within the Black Honor Movement. And that is sustainability, that is unification, and that is just strategicness and planning, and again, unifying our communities in a standard that we would like to see within the nuclear Black family moving forward. Today, we're talking about yet again another touchy subject, which is the crimes against Black people and the Black community. Again, this is the crimes against Black people, the dope and the dope charge. So, of course, we're taking a look at again what history has taught us in reference to the civil rights movement, war for profit, and more. So jumping right into it, I was looking at a few points and doing research for another video that we're going to come out with next production after a documentary we'll watch together next week. But I was looking at this other article by Vanity Fair, and it was just talking about police data and racial biases, with some points that, like I said, I'll bring out in the next video that we do after the documentary we watch together. But today we're talking about, some of the operations that even our very own government has partaken in damaging the Black community. And in what way? Well, through drugs. We see a lot of our parents have made children's orphans, mothers widows, fathers dealers and junkies, pimps, mothers prostitutes, and just crackheads. That's what's going on within our community. And it is some frontiers. We were talking in a few live streams back when we were taking a close examination of Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement, modern society, and things like that. We were talking about who was masking as an ally but really wasn't. But there are also some definitely keen players and allies within our community, and they're not always Black, and the drug dealer is not always white. The one that's helping you is not always Black, and the one that's selling you drugs is not always white. And we'll break that down a little bit more today. Of course, in the the video description section, you can always find links under the show notes to see, to do the research for yourself. But let's just jump right into it. Well, one of the things that I came across when I was doing research for this video was the CIA drug running in LA. Some of you all already know, but there are a lot of people that just couldn't imagine that the CIA was running drugs through LA. And that was actually a fact. I was looking at the Pulitzer Prize winning award journalist Gary Webb. Man, that's a mouthful, and I'd love to be one myself. But Gary Webb, he exposed this alongside the LAPD, narcotics officer turned whistleblower, and even author Michael Rupert. He wrote the CIA contract plot, Terry Reid, and many others. They all joined together to bring some of these disturbing facts to the forefront. If you look up a date in August 1996, the San Jose Mercury News published Gary Webb's Dark Alliance, which was a 2,000-word 3-part investigative series which alleged that Nicaraguan drug traffickers sold and distributed crack cocaine in Los Angeles during the 1980s, and the drug profits were used to fund the CIA Nicaraguan supported contracts. So, a lot of things are masked as fronts, but also the people behind the scenes doing the deal. If you're trying to fight communism, if you're trying to fight oppressive government and give the rebels, guns, a lot of times that is in exchange for their country's resources, and a lot of times that is narcotics. And again, in doing your own research, you can see that this is a very disturbing yet true fact. One thing I noted that Gary Webb, he never necessarily asserted that the CIA was directly aiding drug dealers to raise money for the Contras, but he did document that the CIA was aware of the cocaine transactions and large shipments of cocaine that was being imported into the U.S. When we look at the war on drugs, we have to ask ourselves, what is the motive for some people? Because the war on drugs is a big thing, and a lot of us within our lifetime, we've heard the war on drugs, the constant preaching of the war on drugs. Well, when we look at the war on drugs, it's an example of how really meticulous and ingenious it is a plan to create things like a one world government when you consider the following parts, right? The war on drugs is big, but it's really not what it seems. It's how some will put it, when you look at the opioid epidemic, the crack epidemic, things like that, it's a way to enslave people, specifically Americans, and to destroy our civil lives. If you look at the other countries where people are dying of senseless violence, or people are being snatched up off the streets and forced to work in drug labor, that's another front of enslavement as well. It seems like a perfect plan, to attack war on drugs with conventional means, but it's no way for the systems that do have control over locking our community up disproportionately, but also funding the drugs that are entering our community disproportionately. There's no way really for that system to lose unless we stand together and call it out. It would be one of the greatest scandals in American history, but it still should be called out. I wanted to make a point, but it slipped in my mind in reference to, the it not being a way for the system to lose. But we'll just move on, because when you consider it, through the music, through entertainment, you see that this system really creates a culture surrounded by war on drugs, and then you make billions of dollars by running drugs to further finance other schemes, other nefarious acts, other operations, global operations that go on that could use, worldwide power to crush all of the competition. So it's a lot of things going on. And then when you also consider, when someone that controls a market, right? When they crush, arrest, defame their competition when they're running, they will be hailed as the heroes by a majority of the people that don't know what's going on, right? But the introduction of drugs into society does several things, right? One of the things it does is it taxes the average citizens, even our places of worship like churches, abilities to oppose immorality, right? It makes it definitely harder, because when you have the introduction of drugs within the community, it does bring a lot of immorality. It also gets the public indignant and uneducated about the facts of drugs because of the heavy influx of it, and the public's moral outcry and things like that to pass drug laws. That's pretty much the only outcome that we see, right? So it does get some public attention, but a lot of times, like we spoke about in the other video, black people catch pneumonia when the rest of the world catches a cold. A lot of times, other people are criminalized while other groups are victimized, right? No one bats an eye over the crackhead mother, but the crackhead black mother, that is. But the crackhead white mother, how many people are throwing resources at her to fix her life, giving her multiple chances to fix her life? It's all types of systems that prioritize her experience and the experience of her children, right? The fact that the public, right, whether they're ignorant to how these systems really work or not, the public would demand that certain laws, which abolish their rights, they'll demand these laws and then applaud the laws in ignorance and unknowing that what these laws actually say and mean. You think because it's an increase in it's an increase in narcotics, so we have to take the firearms away, even though that a lot of those people being booked in the prison industrial complex do have traces of narcotics in their system. We also made various videos on how water is contaminated. You have someone drinking contaminated water, doped up by their doctor, self-medicating through narcotics put in their community, and the gun is the last piece of the puzzle. Okay, it's a lot of moving parts here that we have to pay attention to, that a lot of people don't want to pay attention to, right? So this is just something to think about. But if the public somehow gets the complete picture that our government has been included in smuggling drugs and to create the drug war, in spite of the controlled media, in spite of the entertainment industry pushing out, oh, say no on drugs, say no to drugs, but also that's all that the artists talk about, or perhaps even if we look through media in its right image, there are very few people standing up against the drug epidemic. But if more people got the complete picture, that and that's what I wanted to say. We don't make cocaine in the hood. We don't make cocaine in any suburban community in America. That comes from overseas. That comes from out of the country. The connections it takes to logistically traffic tons and kilos of cocaine. It takes planning on a scale that average citizens wouldn't know anything about, right? Something to think about. So, if you look at what we were talking about in a few of our previous videos, we were talking about the Vietnam War. When we look at the war in Southeast Asia that encompassed Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand, just to name a few, they witnessed vast explosions in the opium and heroin trafficking, right? With the convenience of the CIA, right? Or with connections from the CIA. Much of this resulted in from the decision to covertly arm at all costs local warlords to fight the battle against communists, right? In order to be able to buy these weapons from the United States, local military commanders took control and increased opium production in their region. This was then exchanged for weapons, and the opium found its way to the US and to Europe. It's just what happens. Yeah, we can look at Mexico, but they're not the only ones producing, nor have they always been the only ones producing versus various opiums, right? So when we look at the guns for dope model that developed during the Vietnam War, it proved to be effective where else in other countries too. So when we look at structures later developed, again, speaking about South America, El Salvador, Afghanistan, and even up to Kosovo, where where NATO backed the KLA, trafficked heroin. So we have NATO backing rebel groups trafficking narcotics within their regions for the guns for dope model. We see in various Italian mafia movies, they have a rule: don't sell that in our community. So the elite, the people with these connections, they know we're not selling this in our community, but they'll sell it to the black community. How come we don't have a standard? Don't sell this to the black community. But the rappers will say, I serve the J's all day. I serve the junkies all day. Don't come back unless you have my money. So just some things to think about. Now, this octopus of a nature, of a beast, of a system, it doesn't just limit itself to drugs and guns. No, you have the human trafficking. You have the medical industry. You have the shadow government and manipulation within political and exopolitical. So it's a lot of different tentacles on here, right? But also another one is chemical and biological weaponry as well. And that even dates back to some of the connections with the Yakuza. I mean, when we're talking about, watch the movie Sicario. Watch how the DEA and the CIA was trying to start a war between two cartels and a government official, but they couldn't just outright go to the government official, so they provoked some of the cartels. No one's making this stuff up. If the human mind can conceive it, it can achieve it. Something to think about. So yeah, so we were talking about the Yakuza. That goes back to Japanese secret unit 731. That's where a lot of the high-ranking Yakuza official members come from. And they were making chemical, biological weaponry in Manchuria. So again, look up World War II, the secret Japanese unit 731, and look up the chemical and biological development of weapons in Manchuria. All right, it's just something to think about, like we mentioned before, right? There are a lot of whistleblowers within the CIA, within the DEA, within high-ranking U.S., federal positions that have shared, how detrimental and how impactful the government's hands in running and drug smuggling has been. A lot of people say the ends justify the means, but does it really if it is leaving our community torn apart? The purpose for this video was to show that when it comes to drug smuggling, when it comes to oppression within the community, it goes a lot further than just your local drug dealer or your regional cartel. A lot of times it has to do with government. We have to continue to educate ourselves, educate our families, educate our communities on the hands that are involving themselves in the activities that continue to destroy our community. Then we have to unify ourselves with like minds and move forward together in a unified front within our community to say what we stand against. So I just wanted to pull up with you guys for a brief video. I won't take up too much more of your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in to the Black Honor Movement. Again, I'm your host, Darby X Judah, and I really would appreciate it if you hit that like button, that share button, and that subscription button. Getting tired of hearing just educational content? Go ahead and search Spaceman Darby for some gaming content on YouTube and Facebook. You can also search Spaceman Darby on Twitch. Need to spice up your bath? Go ahead and search Minds World's Bath on Instagram. That's MINEWORLDSBATH on Instagram. And get you some what's that called? With the bath salts, and you're laying back in the bathtub, and get you one of those herbal baths. Get you a herbal body bath. Minds Worlds also has body butter, lip scrub, body scrub. So definitely, if you want to shop black, you can't go wrong with free entertainment from Spaceman Darby and body products and bath products from Mind World's Bath. So again, thank you guys for tuning in to the Black Honor Movement. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Hit that like button and we'll see you in the next video. Deuces.